Watch this.
Before lawmakers even gavel in, Idaho's budget power structure is changing, and the person who steps into the room that controls every state dollar could shape the session. Nearly $1 billion is heading to Idaho, aimed straight at rural health care, how state leaders plan to use it, and what it could mean for care close to home. Before three-point shots and slam dunks, the Weiser gym was roaring, while Idaho is stepping in to protect one of the city's loudest landmarks.
Having that willingness to sit down and listen to people is critical in the role of JFAC co-chair.
Words of advice from soon-to-be former Idaho lawmaker Wendy Horman. Her resignation technically effective today as she is heading off to Washington, D.C. with a major role in the Trump administration, but it follows her years of leadership for arguably the most powerful committee person in Idaho. Joint Finance and Appropriation Committee co-chair, a.k.a. the budgets for the entire state. And with her resignation, a vacancy to fill, we're 1 week out from the State of the State address from Governor Little, and that'll kick off the 2026 session. And House Speaker Mike Moyle is responsible for selecting a new co-chair. He has a name in mind, and I spoke with him about that and what's ahead for JFAC a short time ago. We're a week out from all the players jumping back into the arena, the 2026 legislative session, and a major question hangs for House Speaker Mike Moyle. Who's at the top of your list for the new co-chair of JFAC?
Oh, if I made the decision today, I think I would offer it to Josh Tanner, but we'll see, he'll have to think about whether he wants to do it or not. But as of today, I think I'm going to offer it to Josh.
Representative Tanner currently serves in leadership as Assistant Majority Leader.
Well, he's one of the guys, he's willing to put in the time and the work. He's intelligent. He understands those budgets, and he works hard. He'll do a good job if he accepts it.
Whoever takes the job steps into a high-profile role that will be tasked with tackling the budget, one complicated by federal legislation, the One Big Beautiful Bill.
Adds another several $100 million in tax cuts if the state chooses to accept those. And I think we'll accept all of them, or at least most of them, maybe not all of them, most of them. And so because of that, it's going to make a little bit of a dynamic on the budgets this year. But we'll get through it. There's going to be, we're going to need to go through them with a fine-tooth comb and find any wastes and stuff we can get out of there and make it through the session without raising taxes. In fact, we're going to cut taxes. That's what's going to be the weird anomaly. We'll be giving tax relief at the same time that we're reducing some of the funding, but I think there's enough and a way to do it in which there's very little impact to most of the budgets and most of the citizens. We'll get through it.
Idaho budget experts detailed the impact to the state in a November hearing.
If the tax foundation is right and it's a $284 million change, that's largely going to impact the current budget year that we're in.
With a projected budget deficit, $40.3 million as of December's report, the mindset of JFAC will likely shift. Representative Horman detailed that late last year.
Instead of deciding how much we're going to add to budgets, by and large, we will be deciding how much we will trim. So it will be a very different mindset.
It's a good comment. It's one of those years because of the big, beautiful bill that we're going to have to do some pulling back a little bit. And if you're an agency or an agency head, the best way to handle that is come forward with your ideas. It's a lot easier to work with us and the legislature and find a path forward that has the least amount of impact versus us just setting the budget in a way that may or may not be as impactful. So there's a way to work together, and I hope those agencies come forward with some good proposals. We'll see what the governor has to say, too, in his State of the State next week. That'll give us an idea of where he wants to go, and then the legislature can decide where they want to go after that.
And a short time ago this afternoon, Representative Tanner emailed me saying he accepts the job, saying, quote, serving as co-chair of JFAC is a serious responsibility to Idaho taxpayers, saying that every dollar apportioned represents money trusted to us by working Idahoans. That trust demands discipline, accountability, and a firm commitment to spend only what is necessary and nothing more. He also added that when revenues fall short, lower priority programs must be reduced and agencies held fully accountable. Government should work to keep money in the pockets of Idahoans, not locked inside bloated bureaucracy. So we will have more details on that next week. If you live in rural Idaho, health care can be hard to find, hard to afford, possibly both. Last week, the state of Idaho announced a massive infusion of federal dollars aimed squarely at that program. Governor Brad Little says that Idaho is set to receive nearly $1 billion over the next 5 years, so about $200 million a year, to improve access to health care in rural communities. The funding comes through the Rural Healthcare Transformation Grant, part of a national program approved by Congress and administered by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Broken down, Idaho will get about $186 million a year, money that state leaders say will go towards modernizing facilities, expanding access through technology like telehealth, and shoring up rural healthcare workforces that have been stretched thin for years. Nearly every county in Idaho is considered rural, and many communities face long travel distances, staffing shortages, and financial pressures that make keeping clinics open a challenge. State officials say that this new funding is designed to tackle those issues head on with long-term system-wide investments. The Idaho Department of Health and Welfare submitted this application working with the Rural Healthcare Task Force that the governor set up earlier last year. And that group included lawmakers, tribal leaders, and state officials. They also got input from hundreds of Idahoans from every county. Their next step, the money still has to go before the legislature for approval, but lawmakers, if they sign off, state leaders say this could help reshape rural health care in Idaho for years to come. All right, let's get to the 411 from around the great state of Idaho. On Saturday, nearly 100 people gathered at Boise City Hall to protest. Those protesters lined the front of the City Hall building, saying that they had frustration with the covert military operation that was led to capture Venezuela's president. And people held signs reading "No blood for oil" and "No war on Venezuela." A Nissa family is displaced after a fire tore through their home early yesterday morning. Just after 1 a.m., Nissa police and fire crews, they responded to a home on South 7th Street. Everybody inside, they got out safely. As firefighters got there, the American Red Cross is now helping this family. Cause of this is all under investigation. Affordable housing for men through a church program could soon be coming to a West Bench, Boise neighborhood, but people that live in that area say that they're worried about the project. The dorm-style complex would include 33 apartment units with 3 bedrooms in each unit. Rent in the housing facility would be about $500 a month, and residents would be required to attend classes that focus on lifestyle skills. Residents would also need to do 4 hours of community service every week. At this point, the housing facility is planned to only accommodate men, but could also include women and children in the future. Planning and zoning, they are going to meet tonight at 6 p.m. They'll discuss this, amongst other things. It is in the conditional use permit phase. Some new laws took effect to kick off the year in 2026 across Idaho. As of January 1st, the much talked about anti-SLAPP statute is now in effect, and that means the subject of a lawsuit here in Idaho has the chance to ask a judge to dismiss the case immediately if they feel it's frivolous, and this is to order months of court hearings as well as a lot of money in court fees. Over on the healthcare front, healthcare providers are now required to pay for breast cancer screenings for those who have genetic history of breast cancer. And for home buying, everyone in the Gem State who is buying a home as their primary residence can now apply and receive the state homeowners exemption. And experts say regardless of when a bill takes effect, January, July, or under an emergency situation, it's important for all people of Idaho to keep track of the legislative session. It's what matters most in your life. Well, it was built for about $56,000 during the Great Depression. Nearly 90 years later, the bricks still hold, the roof still holds, and so do the memories. In Weiser, there's a gym where the Noise once nicknamed it. And as Hunter Funk explains, it's where the state now says the history is worth preserving.
When I coached here, it was called Echo Pavilion.
Because of the noise?
Yeah.
Talk to the people who played in the gym, built in 1937. The sound hits you first.
I had a former student, that played basketball here. He's probably of the 1964 class. He said they played Meridian here one year. And Meridian was a pretty good team, bigger school than Weiser, but we had a pretty good team that year. All the bleachers were full. It was unreal. He said our coach would call a timeout and we couldn't hear him. He had to draw and write to what he was saying. And by the way, Weiser beat them by 3 points, 67-70.
Wins that are still held over the heads of their rivals. the Weiser High School gym was where the town showed up.
In the community, the high school kids, grade school kids, and the folks, moms and dads, and grandma and grandpas, they'd be standing out looking in the doors, you know. It was a great place for Weiser and for the kids.
Basketball before the three-point line, before dunking, before rolling the ball was legal.
It hasn't changed much other than a lot of guys dunk the ball now, and they didn't. Nobody in junior high dunked it.
And it wasn't just sports. There were square dances, fiddle festivals, even the Harlem Globetrotters.
So many memories here. Like I said, I couldn't even start to tell you my favorite one. There's a couple that I really like, but I don't dare tell you.
That's the thing about this building. It kept collecting stories. And now, nearly 90 years later, the state of Idaho is stepping in to help make sure it keeps them. The State Historic Preservation Office traveled to Weiser to kick off a project to list the Weiser Middle School Gymnasium on the National Register of Historic Places.
Our office gives away approximately $100,000 a year to local communities to advance the causes of historic preservation in their community. They determine what their project might be, they apply for grant funds. It is a competitive program, not guaranteed success, but when we can, we fund as many as we can, about a dozen each year.
The building was designed by Boise architects Turtle Lott and Hummel, completed in 1937 with support from President Theodore Roosevelt's New Deal programs, built to put people to work during the Great Depression. It started as the Weiser High School gym.
Well, during Snowmageddon, all of our other roofs leaked. This building did not leak. I mean, built in 1937, it's one of our oldest, it is the oldest building in our school district, and yet it's the one that held up the best.
Today, it still serves students and the community as part of Weiser Middle School. And despite its age, the goal of the historic listing isn't to freeze the building in time, it's to recognize its value and to help preserve it for what comes next.
This would be one that I would say no. We need to keep this one and put money into it to preserve it, but absolutely honor it for what it is, because this is a beautiful building.
The Weiser School District received $8,000 to hire a consultant to complete their paperwork, which will help get it put on the National Register of Historic Places. And Joe, if you looked really close, the mortar between the brick is a limestone, so that's another project they'd like to work on to kind of keep it restored, is to eventually do that, but that costs a lot of money now.
Yes, and thinking back to the descriptions of how loud that gym got during games, you know that opposing teams hated playing there.
Oh, I'm sure. It was so loud. And they talked about pulling out folding chairs because there wasn't enough seating. I mean, talk about a good game, though.
That's some old-time basketball. All right,
Yeah.
Hunter Funk, thank you so much. Well, it's a tough start to the ski season for Idaho resorts. Brundage Mountain Resort was finally able to open full-time operations within the last 2 weeks and has 5 of their 6 lifts going. However, the last lift stops running at 4 p.m. Tamarack, on the other hand, they have about 3 lifts going. They also close early, so it's a pretty similar story for Bogus Basin here in the Treasure Valley. Last week, Bogus had to postpone New Year's celebrations, and they updated their season passes so that ticket holders can hit the slopes earlier in the day. Bogus has been one of the main attractions of the Treasure Valley since World War II. It opened in 1942 with only a 500-foot tow rope, and the first chair, it was actually installed in 1961. So Idahoans have been taking trolls up and down the hill and shredding the slopes above since Boise, since ever. But did you know, back in 1997, Bogus almost got a new name. John Miller's got it in today's 208 redial.
It's not that Jeffrey Jensen hates the name Bogus Basin.
I think it's mostly, I feel that it's not a good name for the resort.
So he wrote a letter to the statesman suggesting we rename Bogus Basin to what?
Deer Point, Doe Point, that sounds good to me.
Doe Point, that doesn't sound too good.
I think we better keep it a Bogus Basin.
Bogus Basin is Boise.
It's been Boise for 50 years, during those cruising 50s, right up through those cheesy 70s. The music was bogus, the fashion was bogus, and the skiing was bogus, just as it is today. Director of Skier Services Eric Stegmeyer agrees we could call it something like Deer Point
or Doe Point, but it really sort of takes the flavor out of it.
The flavor of the Old West, the legend of Jughead Jake and Panhandle Pete, who discovered gold in the area back in 1860, although it turned out to be fool's gold, or bogus. Still, the two prospectors took their phony riches to Boise, where they whooped it up before disappearing back into the basin. Those days are long gone, but the legend lives on.
You know, gosh, I know that people go, oh God, that's bogus, but you know, bogus means something to us.
Oh, Bogus Basin, Boise, all the B's, 3 B's, hey, can't get any better than that.
Sounds like a good name to me.
It's totally bogus, and we love it.
Even if Jeffrey Jensen doesn't.
I just feel that it's an injustice to what a nice place that it is.
Jeff, come on, get with it, huh? Hey, Bogus Basin, whatever it's called, is beautiful up here.
And if it was bogus enough in the 70s, it's gotta be bogus enough now.
I mean, we're talking bogus.
It's part of us.
John Miller, Idaho's News Channel 7.
So you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who supports changing Bogus's name these days either. And we do have some good news to report about Bogus. According to today's conditions report, the mountain got 6 inches of snowfall in the last 48 hours. So now 6 lifts are open, 6 trails are groomed, and the terrain park is open. Those lifts, they're running from 10 a.m. to 4:30 Monday through Friday and from 9 a.m. to 4:30 on the weekends. Tubing Hill is closed Monday through Thursday, open Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays.
it's obviously no surprise to anyone that Boise's off to a very slow start to our snowfall for the season. Since November 1st, we've seen just 1/10 of an inch total, and that actually fell in November, the final day of the month. So with that all that's measured up so far in Boise, we are seeing now our lowest cumulative snowfall on record through the 5th of January. Not the latest snowfall, but the lowest cumulative amount, one for the record books right now. Now, there is some hope. If you remember last year at this point, we'd only seen 2 inches. We didn't see our first snowfall in the City of Trees until New Year's Day, so the first day of 2025. And then through January into February, we picked up another foot or so. So not all hope is lost as far as snowfall for the Boise area. Still plenty of winter to go, but this will go down in the record books as the driest start as far as snow goes to the season for Boise. Not a lot happening out there anymore as far as precipitation. We did see some significant rain earlier today. It moved through pretty quick, and we have seen some snow stacking up in the mountains. That is starting to dry up. I think we'll probably have a couple more sprinkles still coming in tonight. Overcast skies will linger. Slowly, we're seeing the Boise Mountains looking a little bit more like winter, courtesy of the 4 or 5 inches that stacked up today and the 5 inches that Bogus saw yesterday, with much more to come this week. That is the good news. It returned to a more typical wetter winter pattern is coming in over the next several days. Right now, we're sitting at 43 degrees. For the rest of tonight, we really won't see temperatures move a whole lot as overcast skies remain in place. Tomorrow, we'll wake up to the upper 30s, climbing near 50 for your Tuesday afternoon. Couple sprinkles possible during the day, then a more significant surge of precipitation arrives tomorrow night as we see the first in a pair of fast-moving fronts come in from the Gulf of Alaska. This one races in Tuesday night through the day Wednesday, and then another one Wednesday night into Thursday. That's that reinforcing shot of cold air that could drop temperatures far enough. If we keep the precipitation going long enough, we could see a few snow flurries down to valley floors by Thursday morning. But the most significant snowfall will happen in the mountains this week. So futurecast as we wake up tomorrow morning, couple lingering sprinkles. We'll be seeing light snow across the central mountains. We'll see a more heavy rain coming into the Treasure Valley quickly. Around dinner time tomorrow, you can see an uptick in intensity in that snowfall, enough so that we have a winter weather advisory in place for the mountains from tomorrow afternoon through the day Wednesday, because we will continue to see that accumulating snow during the day Wednesday. We're talking 10 to 20 inches above 6,000 feet. Long Valley, you could see 5 to 10 inches from Tuesday evening through Wednesday evening, with a little more to come on Thursday. So finally, some significant snow coming in and then colder air behind it to keep it in place. That's the good news. Still mild tomorrow, though. We'll wake up to overcast skies, mid to upper 30s across the Snake River Plain early on. We'll again climb into the upper 40s to around 50 degrees, abnormally mild across the Treasure and Magic Valleys. Light snow in the mountains with highs barely above freezing in places like McCall and Stanley. On Thursday, we do cool down quite a bit. We stay mild Wednesday, down to 40 on Thursday, with a little bit of snow possible in the morning in Boise. Some brisk winds on Thursday as well. Then we dry up, clear up, and settle in the 40s from Friday through the weekend.